I don't feel no ways tired.
Jeez.
I come too far from where I started from.
What's up, everyone? You watch our On Air with Nick, Drop a podcast here on YouTube. Hope you guys having a wonderful and great day. Today is February 12th, 2025. And yeah, man, it's my birthday. I got on here and got to look at some of my older videos and some of my different videos I've done over the past year and a half or so. And people have been requesting me to do another Thomas Sowell video. So we're going to get into it, man. Let's get into it. This is Thomas Sowell
on current black culture. Let's get it.
When I grew up in Harlem in the 40s and 50s, I never heard a gunshot.
Well, let me read what you say in your preface. You say, "Let me state here, and now that these essays do not mean 1, all Southern whites were or are rednecks. 2, all Black Americans today or in the past were or are Black rednecks. One cannot predict," you write, "much less forestall all the clever misinterpretations that others might put on one's words. The most that can be done is to alert honest people to the problem." Black rednecks, who are they?
These would be Blacks who came out of the Southern culture and who carried that culture with them north into the urban ghettos and into the ghettos of the South, for that matter, and who have not moved out of that culture since. Over the years, both Blacks and whites have moved away from that culture. But in the poorest and worst of the ghetto areas, there are lots of people who have not. And these kinds of, it's a culture which didn't do whites any good. And it's certainly not doing Blacks any good today. And the tragedy is that people regard this culture as somehow the authentic Black culture, and therefore you're not to interfere with it.
I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I don't feel no ways tired.
Jeez.
I come too far from where I started from.
Black English is considered not quite proper English. On the other hand, if Blacks happen to have all the power and own all the corporations and whites were working for them, it would be the other way around.
There was a period, I'm trying to remember now, I believe it was in the mid-70s, when substandard English began to become viewed as a discipline of its own within linguistic studies and so forth. And for all I know, it was all perfectly legitimate that certain speech patterns would be traced back to various regions in Africa and so forth. And this is a language of its own. It has its own validity. But your argument would be, I don't really care what its validity is. It's holding people back. It's preventing them from participating in the wider society. Is that right?
Absolutely. And also, none of these things went back to Africa.
Oh, is that so?
No, you can. Yes, they did not go back to Africa. If you look at the peach, for example, using the word axe for ask and stuff like that, all of that goes back to the South, and it goes back to the parts of Britain from which white Southerners came. So if you trace calling hog entrails chitlins, that was in a certain section of Britain, the section from which whites moved into the South, right. And they were known as rednecks and crackers in Britain in centuries past, before they ever set foot in the South. So the whole thing is as phony as the $3 bill.
In Intellectuals and Race, you cite an observation by the intelligence expert, IQ scientist James Flynn, that just stopped me cold. After the Second World War, you've got large numbers of American troops remaining in Germany. For that matter, there's still several tens of thousands there today. And both Black and white American soldiers had children with German women. And Flynn discovered that those children growing up in Germany showed no IQ differences at all. The Black kids and the white kids, the same. Professor Flynn concluded that the reason was that the offspring of Black soldiers in Germany grew up in a nation with no Black subculture, close quote. Which means what? Which means they experienced exactly the same expectations? No,
the expectations are external. The culture in which they grew up was not the culture in which Black kids grew up in America today.
So there's
no gangster rap. that was pervasively available in Germany.
So here's what I'm getting. There is something about Black subculture in America today that holds Africa.
Yeah, guys, what do you guys think about this video? Comment below and let me know, guys. And, you know, just a friendly reminder, guys, please subscribe to this channel. It helps a small channel like this grow. And yeah, let's get back to the video.
Can Americans themselves back?
Yes, because that very same subculture held whites in the South back as well.
Right.
That in the time this mental testing in the First World War turned up, among other things, the fact that whites from various 4 or 5 southern states scored lower on the mental test than blacks from 4 or 5 northern states. And so it really was a question of the subculture that was there, which was a handicap to both.
I mean, it makes sense.
I could go on for days about the social degeneration, but let me give you just one quick example. When I grew up in Harlem in the 40s and 50s, I never heard a gunshot. Now, I'm sure someone fired a gun somewhere in Harlem, but it was not such a pervasive thing that you had to hear it. You know, I have relatives in Washington. I asked them the same question. People in my generation.
Growing up in Washington, D.C.
Yes, and low-income Black neighborhoods. Did you ever hear a gunshot when you were growing up? And the answer was no.
Nope.
I have relatives in North Carolina. I asked the same question. No.
Nope.
And now, you know, people in housing projects especially, they put kids, some of them, to bed in bathtubs so that they won't be hit by stray bullets in the night. Now we take it for granted that there's crimes, tremendous levels of crime and violence in the Black community. That was not always the case. In the 20s, it was very common for white celebrities, including George Gershwin and William Faulkner, to go up to Harlem not only for entertainment places, but to go into private homes of people they knew. And Gershwin played Rhapsody in Blue and this home where Walter White lived. Milton Friedman, when he was a graduate student at Columbia, he and the lady he later married would go dancing at the Savoy Ballroom in Harlem. And he said, we had no fear of being mugged or accosted on the street or anything like that.
I've heard you say, Tom, when you were a boy growing up in Harlem yourself, your own neighborhood felt totally safe to you.
Not totally safe. I wouldn't exaggerate, but there's nothing resembling today. I mean, I did sleep on hot nights. I would sleep out on the fire escape. When I tell people in Harlem that today, they think I'm from another galaxy.
Hello there.
You know, but people slept on the fire escapes in New York and in the public parks in the 30s, all over the city, because it was not a jungle. You could run through a great number of other things. Children raised without 2 parents present. That was about 22% in 1960. One generation later, it was 67%, and it's gone up a little since then as well. And now the rate among whites is higher than it was among blacks in 1960.
Right. I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
Oh my God.
Black people are being slaughtered in the streets, killed in their own homes. These are our brothers and sisters, our friends, our family. We are done watching them die.
How do you define a white liberal?
Those kinds of people who have the kinds of attitudes that are called liberal in the United States, although the word is misused, those people have created an atmosphere in which
that's beautiful.
These counterproductive cultures are to be celebrated, perpetuated, and the consequences overlooked. It reminds me of a scene in the Blue Max where this general is encouraging this daredevil pilot to do all kinds of wild stunts, you see, knowing that the guy's going to kill himself if he keeps doing this, and therefore the general will be rid of a political problem. Now, I don't think that the white liberals are doing this deliberately, but I think the net results are the same. They are cheering blacks on and doing things that are absolutely self-destructive.
Facts.
One of the things I discovered in the research for my book I'm currently working on is that leaders of groups that are lagging in countries around the world almost invariably have counterproductive policies for them. And it makes perfect sense, because insofar as members of lagging groups assimilate into the values and achievements of the larger society, they don't need those leaders. I mean, there's no mystery to me as to why Jesse Jackson says what he does, or Al Sharpton and others, because that benefits them.
Yeah.
But it does not benefit the people they lead.
That's facts.
All the incentives are for leaders to lead people into things that don't help the people, but help the leaders.
What you'd create there would be an exception for Dr. King, though, wouldn't there?
Yes, but
he was different because he was earliest, or what? Why? What's different about it?
It's like insurgent movements in general. When an insurgency starts off, by definition, it has an uphill battle. Now, and you can look at the history of Christianity, for heaven's sake. If you're going to be a Christian in the Roman Empire, before in the first century, you had a lot of grief to go through.
Yeah.
Now, but after Christianity becomes the official religion of the Roman Empire, this is a bonanza, and there's a lot to be done. And so now you will follow policies that are the opposite of what you advocated. You will see that with all kinds of other insurgent movements.
That makes sense, though.
Somewhere watching this interview, there's a young Thomas Sowell. There's an African American who's smart and wants to do something with his life. It seems to me we've already got one piece of advice you'd offer to him is stay away from the races industry. Stay away from the race hustlers. What advice would you give a young Thomas Sowell? How do you make something of yourself as an African American in America today?
The way anybody else would. You equip yourself with skills that people are willing to pay for.
All right, guys, so there you go. That is actually, one reason I always enjoy listening to Thomas Sowell is because of the wealth of knowledge he has. What do you guys think in the comments? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe to this channel if you enjoy content like this. And yeah, man, keep sending me videos. And I'll tell you something, guys, just the idea of, how much Thomas Sowell actually spreads knowledge into the world. It's encouraging. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Take care. One love.